Welcome and study with Tanzania Institute of Education.
Hello, welcome again. It's another day, another time we are together in mathematics. In our today's lesson, we shall have a look on what we call quadratic equations. But we will be focusing on solving quadratic equations. There are different methods of solving quadratic equations. One of those methods is by factorization. By factorization. Factorization. So to make sure that we are together in our lessons, make sure that wherever you are sitting, don't move. But I'm sure that already you have prepared. You have your notebook, your pencil, a ruler, and a rubber. Together, I'm your teacher, Pascal Titus Majebere. So now, what is a quadratic equations? Let us start there. A quadratic equations is the equation which can be written is the equation which can be written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, where a, b, and c, these are real numbers. Where a, b, and c, these are real numbers. These are, like this one, these are real numbers. And a should not be equal to 0. You will ask me, why a should not be equal to 0? What about the other real numbers? What about b? What about c? Because one of the things which identify whether a given equation is a quadratic is the presence of this square. So if a is 0, it means this term here will vanish. You will remain with bx plus c is equal to 0, which is not a quadratic equation. Example of quadratic equations. Let us see examples of quadratic equations. I told you. One thing which differentiate the identity of a quadratic equation is the presence of this square. Other terms can even not be there, but a term with a square should be there. So, if I take an equation 2x squared plus 3x plus 4, this is a quadratic equation. If I ignore the constant number and write 2x squared plus 3x is equal to 0, it is still a quadratic equation. If I, again, ignore this term here with the x and write it only 2x squared is equal to 0, this is still a quadratic equation. A quadratic equation is only characterized by the presence of this square here. A variable can change, not necessarily that should always be x. It can be y, it can be a, whatever variable. But what is important is the presence of this square. All right? Now, after knowing what is a quadratic equation, let's go direct to what we are supposed to do today, and that is solving quadratic equations. When I say solving quadratic equation, means find the value, the variable, which when substituted in here, it will give you, to balance this equation, to give you equal to 0. Find the value of x and the value of, it can be x, 1 or 2. That is solving the quadratic equations. If you have done here, let me lab here so that we can have a space to show how we can solve the quadratic equations. I'm sure that everyone knows how do we factorize from the previous topic, which actually is taught before this one here. Now consider, look at this one here. Let us have a look one question here which can help us. Let's say if the constant term, if the constant term of our general quadratic equation, if the constant term of our equation, let me just simplify this one here, of our equation ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. When I say the constant term, what does it mean? It means it's the term which does not have the x. That is what we call the constant term. Now, if the constant term of our equation x squared is plus bx plus c is equal to 0 is 0, that means our equation will be reduced to, our equation will be reduced to, we don't have now this because it is 0. So it means our equation now will be reduced to what? Ax squared plus bx is equal to 0. I need to factorize. Now I have remained with only two terms. The term with the x squared and the term with only x. Now look, what is common here? Aha, the common here is x and x. Take x out. We are factorizing it now. If I take x out here, what will I remain with it here? I will remain with ax plus, you have taken x out here, you remain with b. This is equal to 0. So, note that. This means for a product of two or more numbers to be 0, one of the number should be, at least one of the number should be 0. We said that for the product of two, even more, or more numbers, terms, more numbers to be 0, at least one of the two numbers should be 0. At least one of the numbers should be 0. Should be 0. Now how many numbers do we have here? We have x and we have ax plus b in the brackets. These are two different numbers, x and ax plus b. Now either x is equal to 0 or ax plus b is equal to 0. Well, at least one of them should be 0, or all of them. One of them should be 0, even all of them. Now if that's the case, I'm sure you have written here, just a space here. That means, that is, either x should be equal to 0, or what? There are two numbers here. We have x and we have ax plus b. Either x is equal to 0 or ax plus b is equal to 0. Ax plus b is equal to 0. Of which, upon taking this b on the other side, you will have ax is equal to negative b divided by a throughout. X will be equal to negative b over a. Rubbing here. Therefore, by solving this one, you will have x is equal to 0 or x is equal to negative b over a. These are the two values of x which can satisfy these general equations here. Have a look on this example. This is example number 1. Factorize the quadratic equation below. Let me see one. We normally say solve the quadratic equation below. Solve the quadratic equation below. Solve the quadratic equation below. Let's say you have 2x squared minus 6 is equal to minus 6x. Minus 6x is equal to 0. We have two things there. We have the variables, that is x. We have the variable, which is x. And we have these numbers here. The coefficient of x squared here is what? It's 2. And the coefficient of this term here is 6. Now, 2 and the 6 has something in common. The common factor of 2 and 6 is what? It's 2. Common factor of 2 and 6. You know how to find the factors, right? It is 2. Now, write here solution. So 2 is a common factor, 2. But there is also x, which is found in the first term, and also it is in the second term. Also x is the common. So take 2x out. If I take 2x out, what will I remain with here? I remain with x. Minus, you have taken 2 here. Mind you, when you are taking it out, it's the same as dividing here. If you divide here by 2, this will be what? 3. So that if you take out here, it means you remain with 3. You have divided this term, 6x, by 2x. It means the x has cancelled. So I have remained with this one. This is equal to 0. We are solving for x. We say that now from here. For the product of two numbers, here we have two numbers now. We have this one here and we have this one here. For the product of two numbers to be 0, what have I said? At least one of them, if not all of them, at least one of them should be equal to 0. So either that's either 2x should be equal to 0 or x minus 3 is equal to 0. Upon dividing by 2 here, you will have x is equal to 0. Or if you take 3 on the other side, its sign will change. Or x is equal to 3. These are the two values which satisfy this quadratic equation here. But a question can be given in different ways. What you need here is to rearrange. Let us have one more example here before I give you the question to do. Let's say you have this one. Solve the equation. Solve the equation given. Let us have a look. That was example number 1. Let us have a look to the second example. Example 2. Example 2. Let's say you are given solve 3x squared is equal to x. We need to solve that quadratic equation. What you need to do, write it in a form. Rearrange. Upon rearranging this equation here, you will have 3x squared. If you take this x on the left-hand side, its sign will change. That is minus x is equal to 0. What is common here? There is here it is 3, here it is 1. So the common here it's only x. Take x out. That will be x. I have told you, when you take it out, it is the same as dividing each of this term by the term which you have taken it out. You have taken x out. So divide 3x squared by x. So one of the x here will cancel. You remain with 3x minus. You have that x there. If you divide x and the x, you got 1. That is 1 here. This is equal to 0. You have two terms there. You have two terms there. Either one of them should be 0 or all of them. That is either x should be equal to 0, or this one here, 3x minus 1 should be equal to 0. This is already 0. Upon taking the 1 on the right-hand side here, you will have 3x is equal to 1. I want to remain with x. What do I do? Yes, divide by 3 throughout. Here you will have x is equal to 1 over 3. Therefore, x is equal to 0. That's one of the solution. And or x is equal to 1 over 3. That means one of this, either one of this, if you put them in the equation here, it will balance the equation. Either 0 or 1 over 3. But not only that, sometimes you may be given an equation in different ways. But before going to the example, the next example, let me give you this question here, and I think you can attempt them just 1 minute. I'd like to see how do you attempt them. I have the first one here. I'm writing these questions here for you. Questions, but I want to do them within only a minute. 3x, no, let me choose another number, that's too simple. X squared minus 5x is equal to 0. Can you solve that question for me? 1, 2. 7x squared. You have 7x squared is equal to 4x squared plus 3x. Can you solve those two equations? 1 minute. Well, the time I have given you, it's over. Now let us do it together here, and you will compare with what we are doing here. Our first question was this one here. That is x squared minus 5x is equal to 0. As we said, one of the terms is not here. We have only 2 terms here. What we need to look at is common. The coefficients. The coefficient of x squared, it's 1. The coefficient of this here, it's 5. So the numbers, there's nothing common. It's like 1. But x, so our common here will be the variable x. Take x out. As I have said, taking x out, don't forget, is the same as dividing each of these by the number you have taken it out. So if you divide x squared by x, you remain with x. Write it there. X minus, we have 5x here. We have taken x out. It's the same as dividing this 5x by x. So remain with the 5 here. This is equal to 0. Remember, for 2 or more numbers, for the product of 2 or more numbers to be 0, one of them or all of them should be 0. So either x should be equal to 0, or x minus 5 should be equal to 0, of which x is equal to 5 here. Therefore, our solution is x is equal to 0 or x is equal to 5. See your solution. Is it the same as mine here? Good. The second one. The second one. We have to rearrange the equation first. As you see here, there is 7x squared, there is 4x squared here. These are the like terms. Put them together. By moving these terms on the left-hand side, you will have solution for the second question. You will have 7x squared. This here, when it goes on the other side, becomes minus. That is minus 4x squared. And this 3 here, when it moves on this side of the equation, becomes also minus. Minus 3x. This is equal to 0. 7x and 4x, they are like terms. So subtract. How do we subtract? It is only the coefficient. The x squared remains as it is. So you will have 3x squared minus 3x is equal to 0. As usual, we need now to factorize at this stage. You look at the coefficients. We have 3, 3. So we take 3x out. But x is there. So we'll have to factorize by taking 3 and then x out. It is the same as dividing 3x squared by 3x. You remain with x. You write x here, minus, you got 3x there, divided by 3x. You remain with 1 here. This is equal to 0. Don't forget, for the two numbers to for the product of two numbers to be 0, one of the number must be 0. What is that number? Either 3x should be equal to 0, or x minus 1 should be equal to 0. Divide by 3 throughout. X is equal to 0, or here, take 1 on the other side. X is equal to 1. That is our solution for that question. Now, the last but not least, you might be given a question in which all the three terms, you know, the general equation as we have seen it, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, has got three terms. It has got this, this, and this. So when all of them are there, how do you solve it? Let me lab here. Let me lab here. And see another example. Called this is example number. What was our last example? It was example number 2, I think. Yes, this should be example number 3. It wants us to solve the equation. Solve the equation 10x plus 9x plus 2. 10x plus 9x plus 2 is equal to 0. How do we solve this one? Now listen to me carefully. In order to solve this one by factorization, first of all, you will have to split this middle term here. A general quadratic equation has got this term with square, has got this term with x, with the variable, we call it the middle term, and it has got this constant. The first thing to do is split the middle term. How do you split? How do you split it? Our middle term here, the coefficient is 9. Now 9, we need to find two numbers. Find the two numbers. That's how we split it. Look at me. Find the two numbers whose sum should be the coefficient of the middle term. Our middle term is 9x. The coefficient is what? It's 9. You need to find the two numbers. If you add them, they will give you 9. And also the same numbers, if you multiply them, they will give you the product of 10 and these 2 here, which is what? 20. Two numbers whose sum is 9 and whose product is 10 times 2. That is 20. Now, the best way of finding those two numbers, there are many, very many numbers whose sum is 9. But the best way of finding those two numbers is by choosing a pair of one of the factors of this 20. I'll write it somewhere here. Let me lab here show you. You can even also do it somewhere on your lap as you are working. That what we need one pair of the two numbers whose product is 10 is 20. 20 can be written as 1 times 20. But also 20 can be written as 2 times what? Times 10. Is there any other number? When you multiply them, they will give you 20. 3? No. 4? Yes. 4 times 5. Apart of 4 and 5, is there any other numbers? No. So only one of these pairs, all of this, if you multiply them, they will give you 20. But it is only one pair whose sum will be 9. Is it 1 and 20? If you multiply them, they give you 20. But if you add 1 and 20, will you get 9? You won't get 9. 2 and 10, if you multiply them, they give you 20. But if you add them, would they give you 20? No. I mean, would they give you 9? No. Here, 4 and 5, you multiply them, they give you 20. If you add them, yes, this should be the pair we are choosing. Now, instead of writing 9 here, we'll write 10x squared plus 4x plus 5x plus 5x plus 2 is equal to 0. We have sprinted this middle term here. That's why we call by splitting the middle term. Now, group them in 2. Look at this one. This and this, this and this. What is common between 10x and the 4x? Look what is common and take it out. Factorize 2. You group them. We have this and this. You have this and this. What is common between 10 and this one? 2 is common. X is common. Take it out. If you take 2x out, What will remain with it here? 10x squared divided by 2x. Yes, you get 5x plus, what is common here? After taking 2x out, what will remain with it here? It is the same as taking 4x divided by 2x. You will get 2 here. Plus, what is common between 5x and 2? There is a number which is a common factor to all numbers. That is 1. Put 1 here. Here you remain with 5x as it is, plus 2 is equal to 0. But in most cases, this one is not written there. We normally assume it. We don't write it. But I've just written it here so that you cannot forget it. So don't write it here. But you know that there is 1 here. So 5x plus 2, 5x plus 2, it's common. You write it. 5x plus 2, it's one of the factor. The other factor, take this one here, 2x, you put brackets, 2x, and the coefficient here, which is 1, is equal to 0. Again, for the product of two numbers to be 0, one of them should be 0. Here, I have 5x plus 2 is equal to 0, or 2x plus 1 is equal to 0. Take 2 on that side. You have 5x is equal to 2. Divide by 5 throughout. 5, 5. So x is equal to 2 over 5. That's the first value of x. Here again, take 1 on the other side. You will have 2x is equal to negative 1. Divide by 2 throughout. You will have x is equal to negative 1 over 2. Hope now you have understood how quadratic equations can be solved by factorization and by splitting the middle term. That you split the middle term first and then you factorize it. Today we have to end up here. When we meet next time, we shall proceed on how, as I told you, there are different methods of solving quadratic equations. What we have seen today here, it's only factorization. But there is others, like general formula, like using difference of 2 square, and completing the square method, as we shall see them later. But today, let us end up here. But before I leave, I'll give you some questions here. And the book which I'm using it here, not only this one, but there are other books which you can use them. Now, if you refer this book, you can find many questions in here, which will give you enough practice. But right now, let us pick some few questions here. I will just give you the heading. The exercise which I would like you to attempt it when you are at home with your brothers, sister, and your fathers when they get back home from their working. You just discuss with them. I'm writing here. Here, this is the homework. Solve the following equations. Solve the following. I'm not writing the questions. I just want you to refer from this book here. It is exercise 3.2. Exercise 3.2. There are many questions there, about 12 of them. So attempt as many as you can. When we meet next time, you will tell me that you're okay. Until that, bye.
Let's study, be educated, elimu ni kazi. Elimu ni kazi. Let's study, be educated.